Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these cute little earrings, cute little fiddly earrings. They are fiddly with these little tiny stones, but they are lovely. So I'll put a list in the description below of everything you'll need to make these. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you off if you are watching and thinking, oh, I won't do those because they're too fiddly. They're actually really lovely. You can make it bigger if you want to use a bigger stone. You could use a teardrop if you want to and put the point facing down. Bend the bottom of the wires into a V. So it's quite versatile. You can use a huge stone if you want to and still do the same design. Yeah, I've put a list in the description below of everything you'll need to make these, along with all the usual links. We've got Facebook, Instagram, and I've put Twitter on there as well. So please tag me so I can come and see your work and I'll come and comment on your work. To make these earrings, you'll need 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut 6 lengths at 6 inches, which is 15 centimetres. Now I'm using square wire today. You can use square if you like, or you can use round wire, it's entirely up to you. I'm using silver. You can use copper. Copper's a lot easier to handle than the silver is. The silver's a bit hard on your hands. I've got 0.3mm weaving wire, which is 28 gauge. I've wound mine onto a bobbin. If you don't have a bobbin, don't worry. This just stops the wire from flailing about while you're working with the longer lengths. You'll need 2 small cabochons for this. Mine's flat backed, mine's 7mm. You can use a bigger stone if you like, just remember to add extra length to your wires and your weave repeats. You could even make this into a pendant if you want to and use quite a large stone. So it's quite versatile that you can use any stone you like really, preferably round. You can use a teardrop if you want to. And these are earrings, so we'll be making the two together as we go. I've got 2 ear wires, 2 3mm beads and 2 jump rings. Again, your jump rings you can use any size you like. These are about 7mm. Was it 7mm outside measurement? But that's because I've made them myself. Oops. So any size you like, sort of around that kind of little size, but it's up to you. I use 1.5mm wire, 14 gauge when I make my jump rings. I've got pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters. Today I'm going to be using bail pliers. If you don't have bail pliers, you can just use your fingers to bend the bail around. There's a list in the description below of all the tools that I use, or they're all Tronex at the moment. So if you are interested in having a look, I no longer put links, but there is a list of what these particular tools are. So cut your wire lengths as I have and take 3 of your 6 base wires. Position your thumb in the centre of the wires and we'll start working just to the left of your thumb. So take your weaving wire and we'll start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. Then we'll go once around the bottom 2 wires. Come up between those 2 wires. And go over the top, so we're going once around the top 2. And that's our repeat. So we go once around the bottom 2 wires. Once around the top 2. So I've done 8 repeats of that weave, and keep pushing your weave together as you work. And then we're going to do a wrap around the bottom 2 and then 3 wraps around the bottom wire. And then pull that last one quite tight because we're going to cut those wires. Cut the weaving wire at both ends. And then you just need to press down the ends in case you've got any sharp bits. So take your other 3 wires now and grab your weaving wire and do the same again, so we have 2 exactly the same. So make sure your weave is central. It will slide about a little bit. So just slide it till it looks quite central. And then we're going to put a bend where the weave is. And then you can move to a flat surface. We're going to put that weave at the bottom of the stone, hold the stone against the weave, and we're going to bend the wires around the stone. Your wires will want to cross over each other, but we'll sort that out in a moment. And try and hold your stone in place as you bend your wires around, because this is really tiny, it's really fiddly, but it's going to be worth it, so it's worth persisting with. So carefully, and if you do everything slowly in little movements, you kind of make less big mistakes if you do lots of little bends with your wires. So we want a nice little shape there. And as you can see, my wires have crossed over. I'm going to correct that now, make sure they're all nice and flat. So that's the shape you want. I'm just going to slide that weave around to make it a bit more central. So when you're happy with the shape, you want about that much space at the top there. So you want a nice gap at the top of the stone. We'll move back to a flat surface. So now you know your wires aren't crossed over. Mine keep crossing over each other. We'll sort them out in a minute. So now where the wires meet at the top, we want to straighten those. The best you can. And then if you look at it, you can bend them how you want to. And get the shape that you're after. So that's the shape that you're looking for, and it's all very tiny today. So we'll do this to the other one. Pick up your other wires and your stone, and you want to do exactly this and have a nice tiny shape, and then match the shape up to be the same kind of size. So make sure your weave is quite central. It will slide along a little bit. I'll put a bend in the wires. Grab your stone, put it against the bend, bend the wires around the stone. I need to move that weave back to the middle. When you think you've got the size, check it with the one that you've made already to make sure that they're the same size. And then when you're happy with the shape, we've got to pinch the wires straight at the top. Mine was a bit big, so I've had to adjust it down. So that's what we've got so far. They're both the same size, same shape. Everything will start changing in a moment. We've got another section to do the same on each of them. So take your weaving wire, and we're going to just strap the piece together at the top there. We're going to wrap it 3 times around the back wire. And then slide it down. We want it to be just below where the wires join at the top there. You need to make sure your weave is nice and central as well. So now we're going to strap it all together. You need to make sure that your wires aren't crossing over each other. So we go around the whole thing. I always find this bit really awkward because as you pull it to go around them together, this side comes up and they do tend to try to cross over each other. That's my back wire. That's my back wire. So I've gone round 3 times. That should hold it. And now I'm going to go around this back wire again to hold the weaving wire in place. Do that 3 times. And we cut the weaving wire off from the beginning. Leave the back still attached. And we'll just cut that off from the beginning. And flatten down that end. So reposition your stone to make sure it still fits. If you're just making one, because you can make just one if you want to, this will make a lovely little pendant. So turn to the back. And we're going to secure the stone from the back by bending this back wire over the stone. So you need to pull it back to start with, so you've got a gap to get your pliers in there. You've got to keep holding the stone in there so it doesn't pop out. We're going to take this wire at the bottom where the weave ends. We're just going to grab that wire and twist it in. And as I've done that, I've held the top in place so the top didn't twist in too much. We need to do it to the other side as well. We're going to grab this wire. It's hard to hold it all in place. We're just going to bend that wire over the stone. I'm going to press it against the stone at the bottom. And then where I've held the wire, it's actually come in. So you need to push the wires out at the top. So they come in at the bottom, and then at the sides, they still meet the wires to the top of the stone. Because we're going to wrap around these side wires later on. So turn to the front. Now we're going to take the front wire and pull that forward. I've recently finished a written tutorial on bails. A bail is the top little woven bit on a pendant where you put your cord through. And it can be quite a challenge sometimes, it is, to complete the bail. So I've done a written tutorial all about bails, and I've done multiple different designs, from simple basic designs to the slightly more complex ones. And I've used this little basic design throughout. I've put on there how you do the wrap around the stone too. There's one in there for capturing the little stone on the top there. And there's this multi-layered one as well. Whoops. Multi-layered one as well. And so it's all in there, a written tutorial all about bails if anybody fancies a challenge. So we've pulled those wires forward. If you want to, you can grab this wire at the bottom there at the weave and bend it forward as we did for the back, so it bends up to hold that stone. Or if your stone is already quite tight in place like mine, you can just give the top of the wires a squeeze, and that will hold that in. That's pretty solid as it is. So it's up to you what you do with that. But whatever you do, remember, because you need to do the same thing for the other one, so we have two exactly the same. The next part, we're going to weave across these back two wires. So you need to separate your back two wires, find out which ones the back ones are, and then if you look at the front, we've got two on one side and two on the other. Just need to pull those wires down and out of the way for now. And on this side too, so we'll bend those wires down. So we've got the two back ones and we've got two to each side. So when you're happy with the wire positions, we're now going to weave across these back two wires. So take your weaving wire, we're going to go around both wires once. We're going to come up between the two, and we're going to go around the top wire, under the bottom, and around the bottom wire. And that's our repeat. So we go once around both wires. Once around the top wire. Once around the bottom wire. So I've done about 1.5 centimeters of that weave. You can do more or less, it's up to you. And then I'm going to finish with a few wraps around the bottom wire. That's Gracie snoring, if you can hear loads of noise in the background. So I'm going to use my bail pliers now, but you can use your fingers if you haven't got any. So I'm going to bend the bail forwards to start with, and then bend it around to the back. I'm using bail pliers for this so that they are both the same. If you do it with your fingers, you just need to be careful to match up the size of this loop now. So I've bent it out at the bottom so that when we push it together it meets. Yeah, so you just need to match up this hoop that you're making with your other one in a minute when we make the other one. Just squeezing it together to get the loop shape of the bail. So keep checking that it's all nice and central. Got my wire tied up now. So where my weave comes down, it finishes just above that, the wraps around the centre there. Trying to get it to focus on that part. So I'm going to wrap around, coming above those 3 weaves. If yours comes below, then just wrap around below. You're just going to go around the whole thing now a few times to hold that bail down. So when you're happy with it, you need to go around one of the back wires a few times just to finish it off, hold it all in place. And we can cut that weaving wire there, so give it a pull and then cut it off. And that now frees up the weaving wire so we can go and start on the other one. We need to get the other one up to this stage, all exactly the same. Just straighten that up a bit. So we want two exactly the same. They differ from this point onwards. So grab your other one, grab your weaving wire and do what we've done here to this one. So remember to keep pushing your weave down as you go, keep compressing your weave together. And when you share your work online, please mention me, a Kelly Jones Design. I really appreciate all you guys who do. And please don't share in progress images or pictures of the back, as it gives the design away. Thank you, everybody. So we did, I think it was 1.5 centimetres. I'm going to take a couple of repeats off because I've done a few too many. Yep, so 1.5 centimetres of that weave. And we finish with a few wraps around one of the wires, just to hold that weave in place. And then we're going to wrap it around the bail, or wrap it, bend it round with your fingers, do whatever you did and match it up to the other one. So now we should have two exactly the same. Your wires are just sticking out at the sides and out at the bottom for now. Quite cute little things, aren't they? I've just decided that I prefer them to look with the front wire bent forward a little bit. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to do that to both of mine. Grab the wire at the bottom by the weave, holding the top back in place with your finger, and you just put a little bend on that wire. It just helps hold the stone in place. I thought it would look cute if you left them straight, but I think I'd prefer on this design, when you've only got the 3 wires and it's such a tiny stone, to have the wire bent forward, and then make sure your wires are apart at the top. And whatever you do to one, make sure you do it to the other. So if we work on the right hand one first, so we're going to bend the wires now in a certain way, and then when we come back, we're going to do the other one the other way. Just adjusting the shape of the bottom there. So take the right hand wire that is more towards the front. I'm going to pull it right out, and then I'm going to lean on it at the base, and I'm going to curve that wire over to the left to make a loop. And because this pendant, this earring, is so small, we need to do really small loops. So when it gets to here, I'm going to bend it around again. And I'm going to pop one of my tiny beads on there. And then take that wire around, holding the bead in place as I bend the wire around so that it doesn't move. So we've got that. If we do each step on each one, then it will be easier to match up. So when you've got that and you're happy with that, move to your other one and we'll do the same to that. Only we'll do a reversed. We've got to do this one in reverse of that one. You can do two the same. If you want to do them both like this, then you can. It's entirely up to you. And if they are the same, when they're in your ears, they still look cute. They still look lovely and nobody will be able to tell. Either way, but you'll know, which is why I like to do one going one way and then one going the other. So that one goes to the right hand one that comes over to the left. So this is going to be the left hand front wire and it's going to come over to the right. So we're going to do the same as what we did, pull it right down and we're going to bend it around from the base, from the bottom of the wire. And we're going to loop it around. Now on the second one, you always have to keep continually matching it up with the first one. Like, how high up the bail did I come with this loop? It's quite low. So I need this loop to come around to be quite low on the bail there. Because I know it'll tighten up as I do the second loop anyway. So then it needs to come around again. I'm going to put the bead on it. Then I'm going to hold the bead as I take the wire around the bead. My first loop has moved. So I need to bend that back up. So you now have a loop and a bead on each one. One goes one way and one goes the other. Oh, I can see that that one's a little bit tighter. I don't think I can adjust that. I am too fussy when it comes to things like this. So when you're happy with your first wire, we'll go back to the first one that we did and we'll now work on the second wire on this side. So take this wire and again we're going to start bending it at the base and we're going to bring it over so it comes straight over and it's going to sit above that wire, but we don't want it to sit above the bail because we still want it to be nice and small because everything about this pendant is small. I've said pendant again, I mean earrings. So we're going to bring the wire around to meet the other wire. So do it really slowly so you can see the wire there taking shape. If you do it in slow little movements, you're less likely to make big mistakes. And then we're going to do the same with the other wire, the other earring, sorry. Jump to the other one. And we're working on the left. Push it down at the base and then bring it over from the base. So we're bending the base of the wire. We're going to bring it around. If you look at the first one, it doesn't quite go above the bail, it's still quite low. So this needs to come around to be quite low, but to shape around to follow. I want it to go a little bit higher there, that's it. To follow, if you can get it right the first time, then that's less messing about correcting it later. Then we want it to sit below that wire. I'm going to push my wires back a bit. And just keep messing around with your wires and try and match up your shapes so they look, can you see how they look opposites of each other? So going back to this one, if you hold your stone and you hold your wires, you want to just pull your wires up. So you've got enough room for another wire to come and sit underneath, and it's above the stone. Anything we do to one, we'll then do to the other, so we don't forget. I've got plenty of room on that one for the third wire to come round. It's got to come underneath that wire, but it's got to be above the stone. We need to lose these two wires at the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to curl them. Cut them short, because I don't want little curls, because everything has to be tiny on this one. So cut the two wires on the back. I'm going to find your round nose pliers. We're just going to curl those back wires. Because they're earrings, I mean you should do for pendants too, but you have to make sure that you close that curl there, because you don't want it snagging hair or a jumper if it's a pendant, so make sure you close your curls. I'll do that for the other one too. I focus on twisting the end to start with, and then I follow the rest of the shape. So make sure you've got nice tidy short curls, and do that for the other one too. So I've curled those back wires quite tight and tiny. So next we'll take the front wire, and I'm just pulling it up a little bit because it's already curling in the direction I want it to. And I'm going to push that one to the back for a minute. I want it to curve around and come down nicely to follow the other wires. So now we've got 3. Need to do the same with this one. Take your front wire, bend that one to the back a little, and curl this wire around. And it kind of comes out about just above halfway, comes out at the top of the bead. So I need this one to curl around, come out at the top of the bead, sort of. Because it's all handmade, you'll never have two exactly the same, but we can try. So the last wire, I've moved back onto the other earring. I'm going to pull it right down. And I'm going to send it. I'll curl it around a little bit. I don't want it to come over here because then there's too many wires. I'm going to post it through. So get it the shape you want, like that. And then I'm going to bend it. I started bending it sort of down here so we don't misshape this part. And I'm going to pop it through above the stone. And that'll hold the stone down. Oops, I've come between the wires there. I want it to go through all the wires. Oh. Down like that. See it. And we want to pull that through. It's hard handling short wires, but we want this wire really to just be out of the way because we don't want it to make the pendant look too big. So pull it through, pushing the wire back a little bit so it's nice and out the way. And that'll come around nicely and hold the stone down on that side. I'm just going to squeeze that wire because it's not doing what I want to because it's too short. So I'm just going to squeeze it from the back around those side wires. You can see how it holds all the wires in place and it holds the stone down. So you want it to come right down on top of that stone really. And then I'm going to cut it and post it back through so it's nice and secure on that side. So I'm going to cut it quite short. And then I'm going to post it back through below where it just went. It goes under there. Sorry, squeeze it in place. And that's that side done out the way. So now we've got 3 wires on this side to contend with. And what we'll do is now we'll move to the other one and catch up with that one. So we need to send this wire down quite low and shape it to go around these wires on this side. So we're going to pull it down. So it goes like that. And then I'm going to bend it. I'm holding the top as the best in shape that I can. And I'm going to bend the wire there. And post it through the front of the stone. This will misshape it a bit. Pop it around, post it through. try and pull it back into shape like what it was. And before you bend it around, you just need to compare, make sure they kind of look like each other. So you can see the little wire has gone around, and that's what we're looking at. So it just needs to stand out just a tiny bit. And then we send it around the side wires. And give that a little squeeze there. Holds everything in place. And then where it comes around the front, we're going to cut that off, quite short, and post it around to the back. I do find it so awkward to do this left one. I could do the right one quite nicely, but this one, and it's done exactly what I wanted to, even though I was moaning. I'm just pulling that down a little bit because I want it to hold the stone down. So they are starting to look like opposites. Now what we're going to do with these wires is all 3 wires have to go around the side. Only the bottom wire is going to come out the front. So we're leaving enough room for 1 wire to come out the front, and the other 2 are going to be cut off short and just hugging those side wires. We're going to bend them tight around the side wires. So we could do just the 2 wires first. It might be easier. It might be easier to do just one at a time. So you've got to hold the front really firmly in place while you bend these wires around, because it's going to misshape the front. And it's just the bottom wire that needs to go all the way through. So if we post that through, holding the front in place the best you can, so you don't misshape it all. And we're just going to take that bottom wire, post it through to the front. I just haven't got the strength to grip the tinier wires. I'm going to pull it through. Hope I haven't marked it too much. Lovely. And then the other 2 wires, holding them in place too. I'm going to bend them across the back. And then check your wires, make sure they look how you want them to. And your bail is straight, because your bail may bend as well as you're adjusting your wires. Happy with the shape? These 2 wires we're going to cut and just bend around the sides. So I'm going to cut them quite short and using my round nose because they've got a finer tip. Hold the front in place the best you can. Don't pull on these wires. We're not going to pull, we're going to just bend them around those side wires. And squeeze them in place with your other pliers. So we're just going to bend them around the side. It's so hard to grip because it's so tiny. And we're going to squeeze them in place with the pliers. and really grip them around those side wires to hold it in place. So please don't share images of the back online, as it gives the design away, and I want people to come here and watch how it's made and watch my videos. So please mention me when you're sharing your work. So this last wire is just going to come around into a nice little curl there. I'm going to cut that wire and not curl it so we can match the length of the wire up with the other one. So the curls then should be roughly the same size. That is tiny. That's so cute. Right, I need to catch up with the other one. So you know what to do. We're going to hold it all in place. We need a gap big enough for one wire to come through the front, and the other two are going round the back. So holding it in place really firmly, bend your wires around to the back. Now if you're using copper, it'll be much easier for you to do this than me, because this silver wire is really tough. And we're going to take the bottom wire, post it through to the front, and we're going to post the other two wires around and cut them and do what we did for the other one. So when you're doing this part, you must remember to squeeze that wire as well, so it grips those side wires. So I've done that one. So now we need to shape this wire to come around to be the same length as that one. So they're going to be quite small curls. But we need to match up the lengths so that they're going to look the same. So now we just need to curl those wires. Bit of a tricky one to grab, this one. That's Gracie snoring. So you should have one swooshing one way and one swooshing the other. But if you do two the same, that's absolutely fine. So we just need to add the ear wires now. So you'll need a second pair of pliers. Pop the ear wire on there, the jump ring through the top, and then I pop an ear wire, can't remember my words, through the top there, close up the ring. So I make my own jump rings just using 1.5mm wire and the bail pliers, and then I just cut them up. I like how that finishes with the chunky jump ring there. You have to put the jump ring on so that the ear wire faces the right way. I'll do that for the other one. So there we have it. Cute little earrings, and these are tiny. And they'll be nice and lightweight. Hard to hold to show you. I hope you found this tutorial easy to follow. Give it a go and tag me on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter now. I've got a Twitter account, so I can come and have a look and comment on your work. And thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Bye.